Hi, everybody. So, yesterday we finished this wonderful book, Beverly Cleary's The Mouse and the Motorcycle. I can't begin to tell you how much I enjoyed sharing this adventure with you and getting to know Ralph and Keith and just the excitement of meeting a mouse that actually spoke and could drive a motorcycle. It was a lot of fun. Before we leave this book, there is a really short interview at the end with the author, Beverly Cleary. Now, Mr. Perkins showed us a video of Beverly Cleary a couple of weeks ago, and she's written so many kids' books. She's really become a legend. And I looked online to see a little bit more about her and found out that she is still living. And believe it or not, she is 104 years old. Wow, 104 years old. So she has stood the test of time, I would say, and she's got a lot to be proud of. She's changed a lot of lives with the books that she's written. Anyway, let's read this short interview and we'll learn a little bit more about the writing of this book. An interview with Beverly Cleary on The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Question number 1. Of all the animals in the world, how did you decide that a mouse would get not only his own story, but his own motorcycle? I myself am surprised to have written it. When my husband, kids, and I were visiting England, my son developed a fever and had to stay in bed. That sounds a little bit like Keith. He had some toy cars to play with to amuse him, and among the cars was a little motorcycle. He seemed to get lost in some imaginary adventure, running the motorcycle up and down the stripes of the hotel's bedspread. Then, when we got home, a neighbor of mine had caught a mouse and wanted to show me. When I saw it, it occurred to me that this mouse was just the size of the motorcycle that my son had been playing with when we were in England. And from there, the idea of the story began. A mouse, of all things. Question number 2. The Mouse and the Motorcycle has become a classic. What is it about a little mouse on a toy motorcycle that keeps kids reading generation after generation? I think readers can relate to the excitement and adventure he seeks, and the independence that he longs to have. Those are universal themes in childhood. Question number 3. In the books you've written, 3 animals have gotten their own story: Ribsy, Socks, and Ralph, each with a very distinct, very large personality. How do you think they would all get along if you put them in the same room? Interesting question. If they all should find themselves in the same room, they would definitely eye one another with suspicion. Ribsy would sniff Socks, who would first fluff up his hair and then hiss at Ribsy, and Ralph would try to find a place to hide from them both. So Ribsy's a dog. I am assuming Socks is a cat, and Ralph, we know, is a mouse. Question number 4. The life of mice is something that not too many people care to think about, but the Ralph books are surprisingly charming adventures. From wooden crevices that act as homes and crumbs of bacon that become feasts to ping pong balls that transform into helmets, the world of a mouse comes to life. How were you able to come up with all the details that make the Ralph books so fascinating? I used that wonderful thing called imagination. It can really take you places as a writer, and it's helped me access a lot of things that I've used in my books, including Ralph's Adventures. And finally, question number 5. Have you ever ridden on a motorcycle? Yes, I have. I once rode on the back of my younger cousin's motorcycle when I was in college. It was an old bike that he was constantly tinkering with. One day he asked if I'd like to ride it. This was in Ontario, California. Everyone on the street from the neighborhood cheered. Some people said to his father, "What are you doing letting a 15-year-old drive around on a motorcycle?" To which he said, "What do you expect him to do? Hang around at the drugstore all day?" It was quite fun. I had to wear a pair of his pants. It was wild. And that's the end of the interview. A little bit of information about how Beverly Cleary came up with the idea of the mouse and the motorcycle, and then some of the experiences she had that went into this story. So again, maybe we're going to come back to some other stories by Beverly Cleary because there's so many good ones. I'm sure that we will find another one that we want to read together. Anyway, I'll be letting you know what our next book is here shortly. And thanks again for joining me with this one. Bye-bye.